Charm like a narcissist, lead like a king. There's a reason some men walk into a room and instantly capture attention. Not because they're the loudest, not because they're the richest, but because they radiate something different, an unshakable confidence that borders on arrogance, yet somehow pulls people in instead of pushing them away. That's the kind of energy narcissists thrive on. But here's the twist: when you remove the toxicity and add purpose, discipline, and vision, you get the makings of a true king. A narcissist knows how to command attention, shoulders back, chin up, eyes steady. Don't flatter people blindly, speak with precision. Compliment what others overlook. See what others miss. A narcissist flatters to manipulate, a king speaks to uplift. The method is the same: precision, focus, emotional resonance, but the outcome is wildly different. He's addicted to admiration because he's hollow inside. The king, he doesn't chase validation, he already decided who he is. When others lash out, you speak with precision. When others gossip, you stay silent. The one who speaks least, listens most, and acts last holds the most power in the room. That decision is final. That's what makes people trust him. That's what makes people follow him. Not darting around, not fidgeting, not apologizing for taking space. First impressions aren't fair, they're fast. Within seconds, people decide if you're worth listening to. Clarity, a mission greater than yourself. It's about being so grounded, so unshakable, that your very existence is persuasive. You don't beg, you don't chase, you don't explain, you move like a man who knows. Charm today, betrayal tomorrow. He burns bridges, drains people, and moves on. But the king, be kind, but firm, be generous, but not naive. You stand in silence while others scream for attention. And in that silence you speak louder than anyone else in the room. Be open. You're here to raise the standard. You're here to move with clarity, speak with impact, and lead without apology. But never desperate. You're not trying to win everyone. You're filtering. You're setting the tone. The right people will feel it. The wrong ones will fade out. He builds something bigger than himself. His words build people. His actions set standards. His influence multiplies, even when he's not in the room, and people can't help but follow that. Move like every step has intention. People watch more than they listen. They notice the details. They mirror your energy. If your life is scattered, chaotic, reactive, you can't lead. You're just playing dress up. They don't even have to like you. But if they feel you have vision, they'll respect you. But lead like a king with vision, integrity, and discipline. They want to feel part of something bigger. But they'll only follow someone who's already walking their path with conviction. Not perfection, conviction. In a world addicted to distraction, focus is a superpower, and when your focus is sharp, your presence becomes rare. People feel that. They don't know why they're drawn to you. But they are. Quiet dominance, tactical charisma, ruthless self-respect. It's not flashy, it's not loud, but it shakes the room. Once you embrace that truth, you don't have to say much, just enough. You don't have to explain your worth, just embody it. That respect creates followership, not from fear, but from gravity. Narcissists exploit that. Kings master it. Develop your look, your tone, your rhythm, alignment between your words and your actions. Between what you preach and what you practice. The narcissist fakes this alignment to gain trust. The king lives it to keep trust. Don't aim to please, aim to project strength. Simplicity is your ally. Overcomplication reeks of insecurity. Keep your words sharp, your energy calm, your message clear. The posture of power speaks before your mouth ever opens. And if you want to lead, your presence must enter the room before your words do. Charm is a weapon. Narcissists use it to manipulate. Kings use it to inspire. The difference isn't in the technique, it's in the intention. A narcissist studies the room to figure out who to exploit. A king studies the room to understand how to elevate it. But both know the same secret: how to make people feel seen. That's the core of charm. If you want to influence others, you have to understand this. People are emotional first, logical second. Make them feel something, and they'll follow. It starts with presence. Now pair that presence with controlled charm. You see, narcissists are masters of self-presentation. They know how to create an image, and in today's world, image matters. Confidence doesn't come from proving you're better. It comes from knowing you don't have to. That's the narcissist's weakness. He needs validation like a drug. You want to lead like a king. Control your emotions. Don't be cold, be composed. Emotional control is masculine power. When others panic, you stay grounded, but charm without substance is manipulation. That's why narcissists eventually collapse. Their empire is built on sand. You build on stone. That stone is purpose. People are drawn to leaders who know where they're going. They don't have to agree with you. Leadership is not about control. It's about influence. And influence doesn't come from shouting louder. It comes from alignment. To lead, you must first lead yourself. Structure your days. Build your systems. Sharpen your habits. Speak like every word matters. So many men chase status when they haven't even mastered their own mind. You want power? Start by mastering your attention. That's charm on a higher level. It's not about tricks. It's about truth. Now here's what separates the narcissist from the king in the long-run legacy. The narcissist plays the short game. That's the goal. Charm like a narcissist, strategic, magnetic, unforgettable. Because charm alone can get you in the room, but only leadership keeps you there. And it's not about being nice. Nice is forgettable. This is the energy of masculine leadership. People want to be led. They want certainty. That's your edge. You charm with presence. You lead with purpose. You are not here to be liked. You're here to be respected. And everything begins to shift. People stop testing your boundaries because they feel your certainty. Opportunities come not because you begged, but because your presence demanded recognition. You stop chasing validation and start commanding respect, not from arrogance, but from alignment. You become a man whose identity is shaped by trends, opinions, or fear. You're grounded in who you are, what you value, and where you're headed. Your calm is powerful because you've faced your demons. Your presence is real because you've earned it not by pretending, but by grinding when no one was watching. That's why you walk different. That's why people feel something when you enter the space. You don't just talk power, you embody it. And here's the part most men miss. Real charm isn't about being agreeable. It's about being unforgettable. Say what others won't. Hold eye contact a second longer than is comfortable. Challenge without disrespecting. You stay sharp. You stay focused. You build rituals, not routines. Systems, not guesses. You don't rely on motivation, you rely on momentum. You don't wait for the world to give you direction. You move, and the world reacts. Flirt with the edge of tension without crossing into chaos. That's what leaves a mark. That's what people remember. Charm without character is dangerous. But charm with character, that's unstoppable. That's what makes movements, but real power. Real leadership. It's quiet. It's consistent. It's earned. That's how you keep your power. That's how you lead without chains. They can't manipulate a man who doesn't need them. They can't control a leader who's already mastered himself. That's the paradox. The less you need to be liked, the more magnetic you become. Because when your value isn't tied to opinion, you become immune to manipulation. You stop chasing. You start choosing. But lead like a king, build something real. Inspire without control. And stay rooted in purpose. That's how you rise without falling. That's how you dominate without losing yourself. That's what makes empires. A narcissist manufactures charisma through illusion. The king cultivates it through clarity. Your words are sharp because you've sharpened your mind. A clown entertains when things are light. A king holds the line when everything's on the verge of collapse. And you never beg for loyalty. You create it through consistency. Loyalty doesn't come from charisma alone, it comes from how you show up when things are hard. When chaos hits, are you the storm or are you the anchor? People follow anchors. People trust the man who doesn't flinch under fire. That's what separates kings from clowns. That's why your internal world must be stronger than your external world. So, how do you get there? You study human nature not to manipulate, but to lead with insight. You learn people's drives, wounds, fears, and desires. You understand that behind every ego is a story. Behind every mask is a need. A narcissist weaponizes this knowledge to control. You use it to connect, to lead with impact. You train your body not to impress, but to discipline your mind. And most importantly, you cultivate detachment. You're not addicted to outcomes. You're not crushed by rejection. You're not defined by applause. People feel that. So charm like a narcissist, own the space, master the psychology, speak with power. Because the world is full of noise, men yelling, posting, performing, craving attention. And once you become that kind of man, you don't chase the throne, you become the throne. You realize power and something you hold in your hands. It's something you radiate from your spine. It's in how you listen. It's in how you pause before speaking. You become the kind of man people want to align with because you represent something higher. Stability, direction, honor, vision, these are traits the world is starving for. Not loud bravado, but quiet dominance. You can walk into a negotiation and tip the balance with one line. Not because you forced them to, but because you've earned it. You didn't manipulate them, you led yourself. And in doing so, you gave them permission to rise as well. You can silence a room with one look, because you've developed something most men never do: command without chaos. Not because someone told you to, but because you chose it. It's about precision. You'll fall, you'll fail. You'll make wrong calls, but you never stay there, you adjust. What does that version of me look like, speak like, think like? What does he tolerate? What does he ignore? What kind of energy does he project in every room he walks into? But when you combine that magnetic presence with vision, alignment, and resilience, you become undeniable. You adapt, you rise. The narcissist crumbles under criticism. The king evolves through it. And you chose it again and again. Every morning you got up. Every day you stayed focused. Every night you reflected. That's what makes the king different. Not attention seeking, but presence. It's in how you enter a room and instantly raise its standard, without ever needing to say that you did. Not overnight, but every single day you show up, sharpened and sure. That's the essence of magnetic leadership. You don't force it. Every day, you sharpen that presence by making harder decisions than the average man. You delay gratification. You choose discipline over comfort, silence over noise, vision over distraction. That's what makes you dangerous, not because you're violent, but because you're focused. And when you combine focus with charm, you become lethal in the best way. You become persuasive without trying. This is where influence becomes effortless. When your presence speaks before you open your mouth, people adjust around you. But here's where the king separates from the narcissist. He doesn't just lead for himself. He leads for impact. The narcissist builds mirrors so the world reflects his image. The king builds men so the world becomes better because he passed through it. That's the legacy. It's not just about status. It's about standards. You are the standard in how you think, in how you act, in how you lead. And don't get it twisted, this isn't about perfection. So start asking better questions. Who do I want to be in 5 years? And more importantly, what am I doing today to become him? Because charm without direction is just noise. Leadership without clarity is just performance. You no longer hope people respect you. You command it through consistency, through control, through character. This is how you separate yourself from the average man. You charm like a narcissist, calculated, captivating, controlled. But you lead like a king, measured, mission-driven, and uncheckable. And once you learn to balance both, you become the storm and the shelter. You can disarm a room with a smile and dominate it with your silence. You become the man who can sit with kings but still move like a soldier. You're respected not because you demand it, but because you embody it. You move by design. You don't get pulled by impulse, you stay grounded in purpose. You speak last. but say the most. You don't compete. You dominate your space by being so locked in, so dialed, that people can't ignore you. Everything about you, your walk, your tone, your discipline says one thing: this man is different. But let's be clear, this level of presence isn't gifted. It's built, brick by brick, decision by decision. You sacrifice comfort for greatness. You choose what gets your energy, and who gets access to your world, because you're not available to everyone. You're selective, intentional, controlled. You trade popularity for power. You don't waste energy explaining who you are. You show it by living it. Most men live in reaction. The way you live convinces people before you even speak. You don't sell yourself, you stand as yourself. And that's the rarest flex in a world full of masks. That's charm with authority. That's power without noise. That's leadership with backbone. You're not searching for approval. You're not trying to impress. You're here for one reason: to lead. And whether they love you, envy you, or resist you, they notice you. You no longer need to manipulate outcomes, because your preparation becomes your persuasion. So while the narcissist builds a house of mirrors, you're building a fortress within yourself. You guard your mind, you protect your time. That's what gives your presence weight. When you walk in, people feel a shift. Not because you're trying to dominate, but because your energy is heavy with clarity. And when you speak, you don't ramble, you don't overshare. You speak in bullets, precise, clean, direct. You know the value of silence. You let it hang. You let people sit in it. Because true confidence isn't about what you say, it's about what you don't need to. That's the edge. That's what men respect, what women feel, what enemies fear. Because when charm is mastered and power is rooted in purpose, you don't need permission to lead. You become the blueprint. You become the man others model, the presence others mirror, the name others mention when you're not in the room. And this isn't hype. It's earned through discipline, through clarity, through walking the lonely path most men run from. So the question becomes, are you willing to be that man? Because becoming that man isn't about motivation. It's about transformation. The kind that starts in silence, behind closed doors, with no applause, no spotlight, no external reward, just you, your standards, and your willingness to bleed for the future version of yourself. While other men scroll, you study. While they seek comfort, you train. While they chase quick wins, you build long-term systems, and the difference shows. It shows in how you stand, it shows in how you speak. It shows in how you say no without flinching, without explaining, without guilt. Because the king ain't led by emotion, he's led by principle. That clarity makes him magnetic. That discipline makes him powerful. That calm makes him dangerous. Not because he demands respect, but because he commands it. He knows exactly what he wants, and exactly what he won't tolerate. And when that kind of man walks into a room, people straighten their backs. Not just in the gym, but in the mind. He's faced rejection and kept moving. He's felt fear and stepped forward anyway. He's been doubted, tested, betrayed, but never broke. There's no performance, no arrogance, just undeniable presence. A narcissist acts confident. A king is confident because he's put in the reps. Not because he's invincible, because he's aligned, and that alignment makes him lethal. Unemotional when needed, compassionate when it counts, firm with his word, soft with his people, feared by the weak, trusted by the strong. This is not about pretending to be something. It's about becoming someone. Someone who leads without begging. Someone who attracts without chasing. Someone who walks into chaos and brings order, not by yelling, not by force, but by example. Because when your life becomes a standard, your presence becomes a law. You don't need tactics to manipulate people, you just need purpose. You just need clarity, you just need control. And once you have those three, charm becomes natural, leadership becomes effortless, power becomes quiet but undeniable. This is the new archetype: the magnetic leader, the strategic mind. The man who doesn't speak for attention, but that is always heard. The man who doesn't chase status, but becomes the source of it. So keep sharpening the edges, keep killing the noise. Keep choosing the higher path, even when no one's watching. Because when the world finally looks your way, you won't need to prove anything. You'll just stand there solid, certain, unmoved. Because you charmed like a narcissist, you led like a king, and now, you rule without speaking. Not because you silence others, but because your presence speaks louder than anything they could say. This is what mastery looks like: a man who doesn't flinch under pressure. A man whose silence commands attention. A man whose decisions cut through confusion like a blade through fog. The average man still waits for permission. You've stopped asking, you've stepped into authority not borrowed, not gifted, but earned. And that authority changes everything. In business, people trust you before the deal is even signed. In relationships, your word carries weight without needing to repeat it. In conflict, you don't escalate, you don't shrink. You hold your ground calm, firm, decisive. Because when you lead like a king, you don't need to dominate to win. You just need to exist in your full potential. And suddenly, the world reshapes itself around your energy. But don't mistake this power for ego. There's nothing fragile here. There's no desperation to be seen, to be praised, to be validated. That's the narcissist's disease. He craves the mirror. You've already burned the mirror. What drives you now is impact, the kind that lasts when the cameras are off. The kind that transforms, lives quietly, deeply, without needing credit. Because you've realized the truth. The most powerful men don't need followers, they build leaders. They inspire strength, not dependence. They raise standards, not walls. This is what it means to walk like a king. You don't just rule land, you rule emotion. You rule chaos, you rule yourself, and the world sees it. They feel it in your calm, they hear it in your measured tone. They trust it in your decisions. No begging, no proving, just walking, just doing, just being. Every move is deliberate, every word is earned. Every action, a reflection of the discipline that forged you. While others bend to fear, you bend to vision. And in that vision, you don't just climb, you build. You build your body like a weapon. You build your mind like a fortress, you build your name like a legacy. Because one day, the applause will fade, the spotlight will move, the noise will stop. And when that silence comes, the narcissist will crumble, but you'll still be standing unmoved, unbothered, unshakable. Because you didn't build yourself for attention, you built yourself for dominion. And this world is starving for men like you. Men who don't just take space but define it. Men who carry vision in their eyes and order in their presence. Men who move with weight, not noise. Because when you lead like this, you become more than a man. You become a force that elevates everyone around you. A force that cuts through weakness without cruelty and demands strength not by shouting for it, but by being it. The world doesn't need more men trying to impress. It needs more men who embody pressure and remain calm. Men who face the chaos of their own mind and conquered it. Men who don't need to be right, just need to be real. You're no longer here to play small. You're no longer here to dim your light just to fit in. You're here to disrupt, to awaken, to challenge the weak structures inside yourself and in the world. And that takes a different kind of strength. The kind that can sit still in solitude, that can lead without recognition, that can be feared without being cruel and loved without being soft. That duality is what separates kings from boys. You charm with intention, not manipulation. You lead with purpose, not ego. You connect with depth, not desperation. Every interaction becomes a mirror of your discipline. Your eye contact holds truth. Your words carry consequences. Your energy speaks before you ever do, and you stop looking for shortcuts. Because kings don't rush the throne. They build it brick by brick, battle by battle. Lesson by painful. Necessary lesson. The narcissist wants attention now. You want to be remembered forever. He burns bright, you burn steady. And that steadiness, it terrifies the mediocre. Because they can't understand how a man can be so still, so calm, so unshakably certain when the world is falling apart around him. But that's your edge. You've trained for the chaos, you've built for the storm. You don't just survive pressure, you become pressure. Every room you enter feels it, every mind you speak to registers it. And every person who crosses your path walks away changed, not because you forced it, but because your very presence rewrites the rules. So walk tall, stay sharp, lead with quiet fire, because you've charmed like a narcissist with strategy, precision, and power. But now you lead like a king, and soon, you will rule like a legend, not through crowns, not through titles, but through the undeniable weight of your existence. Because when you become this version of yourself, the disciplined, composed, purpose-driven man, you stop chasing everything that used to distract you. You don't need applause. You don't crave validation. You don't beg for opportunities. Why? Because you've become the opportunity. You are the movement. You are the standard. You are the man that others feel the need to rise for or get out of the way. And it's not just because of what you say. It's because of how you carry your pain, how you handle betrayal, how you maintain composure when things fall apart. The narcissist breaks under pressure. The king becomes sharper under pressure. More focused, more dangerous, more necessary. You're no longer reacting to life, you're designing it. While the world plays emotional games, you're building real systems, real strategies, real impact. You understand that leadership isn't about being followed. It's about being imitated, and the men around you, they're watching how you handle stress, how you lead your family, how you treat women, how you treat enemies, how you treat yourself. That's the part no one talks about. Self-respect is the foundation of all power. Because when a man respects himself, he won't tolerate mediocrity, he won't allow weakness to grow in his circle. He won't betray his own standards no matter how tempting the shortcut. That's real authority. You charm to open doors, but you lead to change rooms. And eventually, you don't just change rooms, you change realities. People look at you and see what's possible. Not because you shouted it from a rooftop, but because you lived it when no one was watching. That's how legends are made. Not by noise, but by presence. Not by hype, but by habits. Not by pretending to be powerful, but by becoming the kind of man power chooses to follow. And now that you've stepped into this path, you don't go back. You burn the old identity, you bury the weakness. You rise into every room like it belongs to you, because your energy earned it, your discipline carved it, and your vision will sustain it. You've charmed like a narcissist. You've led like a king, and now you build like a god.